Exposed. The incredible hidden truth behind the 300K. My son discovered a life-changing reveal. Rain pattered against the rooftop like a frantic heart, matching Emma's racing pulse as she rummaged through the old boxes in her father's attic. The musty smell enveloped her, each cardboard creak echoing memories of happier days when life felt less burdensome. Jake leaned against the wall, watching as the sunlight peeked through the dust-streaked window, dancing on forgotten trinkets and faded photographs that whispered stories of their past. "Mom, look at this." Jake's voice broke through her reverie as he pulled out a worn leather bag, tattered but sturdy. His youthful energy flickered like a flame about to ignite. With a single tug, the bag fell open to reveal stacks of cash, crisp and bundled. Emma felt her heart drop. "Is it real? $300,000. Jake exclaimed, his eyes widening. Hope surged within her as she felt the weight of their circumstances lift momentarily. Dreams of college, freedom, and escaping the diner's fluorescent lights shimmered before them like a mirage. But as the initial excitement faded, a chill crept in. This money wasn't just their ticket out. It was a moral dilemma wrapped in a burden. Jake's face lit up with possibilities, while Emma's mind raced with the legacy her father had left behind. Her father, the town's revered handyman, known for his kindness, had fought tirelessly for their community. This fund was meant for a chance for others, not just them. "Mom, we could finally." Jake's voice drew Emma back. But she turned away, feeling a tightness in her chest, the conflicting desires threatening to fracture their bond. They had fought too hard, worked too long to let temptation overshadow their love. Just then a knock interrupted their thoughts, followed by the familiar grizzled figure of Mr. Thompson, a local war veteran and pillar of the community. He stepped inside, immediately sensing the weight of the moment. "I heard there was a find," he said, his tone solemn as he surveyed the room. As they shared stories, Mr. Thompson recounted days when the town thrived, stories about people united, working hand in hand, sharing the burdens, the joys. He shared how that stash was once intended as a lifeline for the community during the hardest times. A seed of inspiration that had since faded. "The money was meant for hope," he urged, his gaze steady. "It's about what matters most, Emma. Money can't replace the spirit we build together." Emma felt her heart swell and sink all at once. The ghost of her father loomed large, whispering a reminder of sacrifice over self-interest. Yet Jake's face was resolute, dreams clashing against the weight of tradition. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications, so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." That night at dinner, silence thickened the air. Two hearts, once synchronized, now listening to different beats. Emma watched Jake, his brow furrowed in concentration as he mapped out a future in his mind, while her heart ached for his dreams wrapped in uncertainty. As they sat amid the disarray of their newfound reality, the town meeting loomed on the horizon. Emma's heart raced. There they would confront not just the community's needs but their own desires. Who were they? What would they choose? In the electric hush of the dimly lit diner, Jake finally asked, "Mom, do you think freedom is what we make it, or is it what we owe to others?" The room felt smaller, their lives now standing on the edge of revelation. The weight of the answer hovered in the air like the rain outside, and both wondered whether true liberty lay in grasping for their individual futures, or rediscovering the heart of the community. The following day dawned gray and heavy, fitting for a day charged with decisions that could alter their lives and the community. Emma stood at the diner's counter, the usual clamor of morning chatter muted in her ears. Plates clinked, coffee brewed, but her mind was far away. She stared out the window at the streets where neighbors greeted each other, where children played without a care, their laughter competing with the sound of the rain. Those moments were precious, but how could she help keep them alive? Jake was already at the booth with a pile of notebooks, furiously sketching plans for their future. Their conversations had shifted from carefree teenage dreams to the harsh reality of their present. He was resolute, even defiant. "Mom, think about what we could do. Think of the scholarships, the new jobs we could create." "But it's not ours to keep, Jake," Emma insisted, her voice laced with a mix of anxiety and determination. Your grandfather worked hard to build this community. We can't just take that money and run. Means more than just us. A wave of frustration crossed Jake's features, furrowed brows transforming his youthful face into one of youthful resolve. It means everything to us, too. We're the ones trying to escape, the ones who have to live off of the diner's leftovers while the town forgets we exist. His outburst hung in the air, charged with emotion, a fracture appearing in the fragile bond that had always kept them together. Emma's heart sank as she took in his words. She understood his desperation, his desire to dream, to push past their limitations. But was it fair for those dreams to crush the legacy of love and unity that had built their lives? Later that night, the town meeting felt like a pressure cooker, simmering with anticipation. Everyone gathered, from young families to elderly residents. Emma looked around the room, her heart racing as she felt the collective heartbeat of their small town. These were the faces that had been woven into her own story, into the fibers of her father's lasting impact. Mr. Thompson stood up first, his voice cracking slightly. We've lost too much of our spirit. We need to come together to build a brighter future, to remember what this money symbolizes. He caught Emma's eye, silently urging her to share the truth, but Emma hesitated, unsure of how to bridge the chasm between her son's dreams and her father's legacy. To end that moment, it was like the room held its breath. Jake rose abruptly, voice strong. I found something in the attic, and I think it could change everything for us. The tension in the air became palpable as he pulled out the leather bag. The room's murmurs morphing into astonished silence. $300,000, he continued, words spilling from his lips. It's more than just cash. It's hope for our future. We could invest in education, start a community fund, even open businesses. We could lift ourselves out of this struggle while keeping my grandfather's spirit alive. Could work. Emma's heart raced as she looked to the crowd, searching their expressions for agreement or anger, for support or betrayal. Faces turned with a mix of wonder and disbelief. All her fears flooded her chest. What if Jake was right? What if the community could unite in a way that transformed their stagnant lives? Stop! She shouted, her voice rising above the din. As the eyes around her focused, she felt a rush of vulnerability. We can't just take this money for ourselves. We need to talk about honoring my dad's legacy. The room was tense, a palpable energy gripping everyone. As Jake's dreams collided with Emma's loyalty to their past, would the community stand with them behind those competing visions? Would they find a way to weave their hopes together? Or was this the moment that forever changed their lives? The echoes of a decision loomed, heavy enough to break them both apart. Mom, what if this is our chance? Jake whispered, frustration creeping into his voice again, leaving everyone wondering. Was fortune worth sacrificing a legacy? The silence that followed Jake's proclamation hung in the air like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. Emma's heart pounded as if it wanted to escape her chest. The uncertainty felt like a weight pressing down on her shoulders. She glanced at the crowd, their faces a mixture of curiosity and growing tension. Mr. Thompson's brows knitted together, his eyes darting between her and Jake as if searching for a resolution no one could find. Are we really just going to pretend this money doesn't matter? Pretend it doesn't have the power to change our lives? Jake's voice was louder now, rising with every word. My grandfather would want us to do something with it. We could honor his legacy by building something new. But Emma shook her head, tears brimming in her eyes. It's not just about money, Jake. It's about what this town stands for. It's about my father's vision, the community he dedicated his life to building. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd, but there were also voices of dissent. A middle-aged woman with a weathered face spoke up. We're all struggling, Emma. Look around. This money could lift us up. Couldn't we honor the past and secure a future? The room erupted into a cacophony of opinions. Some voiced their dreams. Others clung tightly to the past. Emma felt like she was caught in the middle of a split, a tug of war between love and hope. She recalled the countless nights her father spent helping others, never once thinking about the wealth he could have created for himself. Listen to me, she began again, trying to calm the rising tide of emotions. What if we found a way to honor both? What if we used part of this money for community projects but save some for scholarships for Jake? We can bridge these two worlds. But even as she said it, she could see Jake's face fall, disappointment washing over him. To him, it must have felt like another compromise, another reason to stifle his dreams. "Mom," he said, his voice quieter, a mixture of longing and conviction, "if we don't take this step now, we'll be stuck in this cycle forever. I don't want to live off leftovers any longer." Emma felt tears streak down her cheeks. "Jake, I know. I want more for you too." But she paused, taking a deep breath to steady herself. "Have you thought about what it means for the people in this room? How it affects everyone who looked to your grandfather for guidance?" Suddenly, an elderly man named Mr. Granger spoke up, his voice shaky yet firm. "Emma, your father would want to see us thrive. He believed in our potential just like you and Jake believe in this money. We don't have to fight against each other to honor him." That single statement shifted the atmosphere in the room. It was as if a light pierced through the clouds. Faces began to soften, and the tension that had felt so thick just moments ago started to dissolve. "Yes," shouted a voice from the back. "Let us form a committee. We can brainstorm, honor the past but chase the future." Encouragement echoed around the room. Emma felt her heart swell with hope. For the first time that night, a faint glimmer of unity began to emerge. Maybe they could invent a path that embraced both perspectives. But as she looked at Jake, she noticed the spark of determination reignite in his eyes. In the midst of this collaboration, there was still a critical question lingering. How could they ensure that his ambitions wouldn't get lost in the shuffle? As the meeting began to organize plans, Emma caught Jake's gaze and saw that resolve flickering in him still. It scared her, igniting a knot in her stomach. "Please promise me you won't lose sight of what matters, Jake," she whispered urgently. But the way his jaw set told her she was about to face an uphill battle, and it made her heart ache. The community was beginning to collaborate, but would it come at the cost of Jake's dreams? Emma's mind spun with questions, filled with worries about how far they could bend without breaking. This was only the beginning, as the dangers of ambition chimed alongside hope. What other truths remained hidden, waiting to be uncovered? What sacrifices would they have to make, and at what cost? Would they truly find a balance or create a rift that could tear them apart forever? Emma stood at the front of the room, listening to the chatter unfold around her. The excitement danced in the air like fireflies, bright and unpredictable. There was a sense of purpose now, a common thread weaving through the town's desires. Yet, amid this wave of enthusiasm, her heart remained heavy, still tethered to the worries that plumed like smoke in her mind. "Let us break into smaller groups," a young woman suggested. "We can each take a different project idea and flesh it out." Before Emma could voice a thought, she felt a familiar pressure at her side. It was Jake, his presence both comforting and worrisome. "Mom, I think we should focus on something bold, something that really showcases what this money can do. Like a new community center or a youth program that helps kids with scholarships." His determination struck a chord in her. She could feel it vibrating through him. "But we still need to listen to what everyone wants too. Not just our voices," she insisted softly, her eyes scanning the room for validation. "Your heart is in the right place, Emma," he replied, tension tightening his voice. "But sometimes the loudest voices get lost in the noise. We need to stand firm on this." As groups formed and scattered throughout the room, Emma joined a cluster of residents. The ideas flowed. One resident proposed a new park, while another dreamt of an arts center. Emma offered thoughts as they brainstormed, but her heart wasn't wholly in it. She felt a pull back toward Jake, who sat across the room, scribbling furiously on a notepad, his brow furrowed in focused determination. It was like watching a dam break, his ambition pouring forth, leaving little land untouched as it swept across the barren ground they'd called home for far too long. But with every idea that darted through the air, Emma's apprehension grew. What if they pushed so hard for progress that they lost sight of the community's core values? "We should ask the town for their opinions," Emma finally said to her group. "Let us make sure everyone feels included." Their heads bobbed in agreement, and she felt relieved for a moment. But in the pit of her stomach, uncertainty churned. How could they ever balance Jake's drive with the greater needs of the town? Each passing minute felt like a ticking clock, and as she glanced back at him, the thought struck her. Could this small town, vibrant with hope, push Jake to the fringes of his own ambitions? As the gathering wound down, Emma felt a shift. People were eager to work together. But as they departed, She noticed Jake standing alone, watching the crowd disperse. His shoulders were tense, and an expression of frustration marred what had once been excitement. "Jake," she called, walking toward him. "You okay?" He turned, but the resolve in his eyes felt tinged with something darker. "Are we really doing this to just compromise?" There was an edge to his tone, a plea laced with desperation. "What if this is our chance, Mom? Our opportunity to create something extraordinary instead of just settling for what we've always had?" Emma's pulse quickened. How could she explain the weight of expectation? The fear that pushing for his dreams could rupture their fragile unity. "We have to find a way to meet in the middle," she urged, fear creeping in as her voice cracked. But Jake's expression only hardened. "What if the middle isn't good enough?" The words hung heavy between them, the air charged with unspoken fears. As Emma took a step forward, she sensed that a reckoning was coming. Would they bury their dreams in compromise? Or could they forge a new path together? The two worlds they stood on felt miles apart, and the rift only seemed to widen with every heartbeat as they stood on the brink of resolution or conflict. A new question surfaced in Emma's mind. What hidden truths lay beneath the surface of their plans waiting to be revealed? Would their choices lead to breaking ground or breaking bonds? The air was thick with tension as Emma and Jake stood on opposite ends of a growing chasm, the truth of their emotions hanging like an unsteady bridge between them. The room was emptying, the laughter and chatter faded, leaving behind echoes of unresolved feelings. She could see shadows of doubt cross Jake's face as he nervously bit his lip, a habit he had adopted in moments of uncertainty. "Think about it," he said, raising his voice a little, trying to keep the passion from slipping into anger. "This is our moment. We can't let it go just to play nice with everyone's personal agendas. We're not just trying to patch up a hole, we're building a foundation here." Emma stepped closer, her heart racing. "And we'll never build anything strong if we don't build it together. You know that. Together?" His voice cracked under the weight of his conviction. "What has always been together got us? A town that barely gets by, a community that settles? It's not enough anymore." Stung. The truth in his words shattered something inside her. She had always wanted the best for her son, while believing in the values of the community. "I understand your frustration, Jake. But the town is full of voices, strong voices like yours. And we can't forget that they need to be heard too. We can't bulldoze over them." His gaze softened, but the fire still flickered within his eyes. "So it's about compromise, then? Stretching out our dreams to fit into a tiny box?" Emma's breath caught in her throat. The question felt more than rhetorical. Maybe Jake was right. Compromise sometimes felt like surrender. But could they really risk it all for ambition? What if the strength of his dreams relied heavily on the community that had nurtured him? As silence enveloped them, Emma noticed the glimmer of hope flicker in her own heart. They could figure this out, they had to. "Let us put our two ideas together. You want something bold, let's present it as a vision, and we'll invite the community to weigh in, make it their dream too." "Maybe," but Jake interrupted her softly, the bitterness fading ever so slightly. "Maybe what? Maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe they'll want bigger than we could even imagine." Her heart thudded in her chest, the notion dancing on the line of promise. Was she appeasing him or genuinely believing it? Was it a resolution, or merely a way to avoid conflict? Jake's shoulders relaxed a fraction. "What if we set up a public meeting, let everyone share their hopes and challenges? They can state their dreams right alongside ours. We could be the foundation, but the community builds it." Emma nodded, thrown by the sudden shift in the air. The worry in his features mirrored back something she couldn't ignore, a realization that maybe both their dreams didn't need to live in isolation. There was vitality in collaboration, a sense of empowerment that thrived on unity. Together, she'd repeated, a mantra of sorts. And yet, her tattooed concerns still lingered. Were they prepared for the onslaught of opinions that a public meeting would incite? As the two stood together in the quiet room now, with their flickering hopes intertwining, a nagging question buzzed in Emma's chest. What if the community turned against them? What if their call for unity sparked division instead? Before she could voice her trepidation, Jake reached for her hand. "Let us do this." As they walked out of the room together, a flicker of doubt still danced at the edges of Emma's mind. She felt the weight of their resolution, a step towards what could be a new beginning, or a chain that bound them to fears they hadn't yet confronted. What challenges lay ahead? And what pieces of the town would they uncover in this unveiling? The answer hung just out of reach, and with each step away from the conference room, Emma felt the ground shift beneath them. What would the community reveal about their dreams and desires, and what could they learn about themselves in the process? The sun dipped low in the sky as Emma and Jake stepped outside, casting long shadows on the pavement. The late afternoon light warmed her skin, but it did little to ease the chill settling in her stomach. "Do you really think they'll show up?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Worry creased her brow. Jake met her gaze, his confidence flickering like a candle in the wind. "Think they will. They care about what happens here, even if it's just a bit buried in their daily grind." "True," she replied, letting out a small sigh. "But will they engage? Or will they sit back, arms crossed, waiting for someone else to take the lead? Maybe it's up to us to ignite that spark." Jake chuckled lightly, trying to lighten the mood. "It's not about forcing anything. Just sharing what we believe so they can see it too." Emma nodded, but her heart still pulsed with hesitation. They hurried through the streets, past familiar shops and homes, each bearing witness to the community they hoped to inspire. People milled about, but the faces she saw were just pieces of a puzzle she couldn't shake the fear that they were missing key parts to make it whole. Meanwhile, Jake's energy flared with determination. He turned to her, the passion in his eyes reigniting. "Mom, this is bigger than us. This is about creating a future for all of us. We can change things together." His optimism tugged at something deep within her, but a knot of anxiety twisted tighter. "And what if they don't like what we present? What if someone's dream conflicts with ours? Then we adapt. We listen, learn, and find a way forward together." His words flowed over her like a soothing balm. As they approached the community center, anticipation sat heavily in the air. Emma could feel her heart racing, thudding as if it were trying to escape her chest. The colors of the banner hung above the entrance shimmered, inviting people in. But what would happen once they gathered inside? In the minutes that followed, they set up chairs and prepared materials, trying to steady their nerves. Emotions swirled around them, excitement intertwined with fear of the unknown. Emma dared to peek out at the sky, searching for signs of rain, but saw nothing but hope shining through the clouds. Moments later, people began to trickle in. Some faces were familiar, while others were new, and each person carried a story, some demanding to be told. Emma watched as laughter punctured the backdrop of anxious murmurs. A mix of curiosity and apprehension filled the room. "Hey, look!" Jake exclaimed, raising a hand to wave at Mr. Thompson, an elder in the community renowned for his wisdom. "He's bound to have a lot to share." Emma felt a flicker of hope at the sight of the slender silver-haired man, his curved shoulders lifting slightly as he approached. He was a cornerstone of their community, a man who had poured love and care into every project he'd taken on. As the crowd settled and chairs scooted into place, Emma's thoughts raced. What would Mr. Thompson say? She couldn't dismiss the figments of doubt that begged for attention. Would they embrace their bold vision or shoot it down? She felt unmoored, caught between wanting to inspire and fearing the fallout. Jake took a deep breath, his hand hovering over a stack of papers. "Ready?" Emma glanced around, swallowing hard. "As ready as we'll ever be." Her heart thudded louder. They opened the door to a conversation, but it felt like stepping onto a tightrope, balancing between their dreams and the tides of opinion swirling below. Before Jake could respond, the doors swung open wider, and more townsfolk flooded in. Old friends, distant relatives, unexpected faces, each one a personal reflection of the community they had built over the years. What if, Emma thought, what if we really change something tonight? With resolve finally pushing through her fears, she caught Jake's eye. Together they took their first steps into uncharted territory, but in doing so they unleashed questions that echoed ominously. What would be revealed in the light of shared dreams? And when the time came to listen, would they be prepared for the truth of their community's voice? The moment was here, but would it lead to unity, or would the chasm between their desires widen? As the last few stragglers settled into their seats, a low murmur swept through the crowd. Emma could feel her palms sweaty against the cool surface of the paper she held tightly. The room buzzed with anticipation, a living entity vibrating with hope and fear. From the corner, Jake gave her a reassuring nod. He was ready, and that alone gave her strength. Mr. Thompson took his place in front of them, his gaze sweeping over the assembly. He cleared his throat, a familiar sound that calmed the crowd as the room fell silent. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice steady and warm. "We are here tonight not just to dream, but to create our reality together." Emma's heart fluttered at his words. This was what they needed. She stole glances at the faces around her, some anxious, some curious, but all present. This was their moment. Jake stepped up beside her, his excitement palpable. "We want to share our vision for the future," he said, his voice thriving with passion. "But it's not just about us. It's about everyone here." As they shared their ideas, outlining plans for community gardens, art projects, and local markets, Emma watched the crowd carefully. She noticed nods of agreement, murmurs of excitement, but also the flicker of dissent in a few eyes. A knot tightened in her stomach. His words seemed to resonate with some, igniting flickers of enthusiasm, but would that fervor be enough to unite them all? Mr. Thompson stepped in again, asking everyone to share their thoughts. "Everyone here has a voice. Let us hear it." A tall woman named Marissa stood up hesitantly, her brows furrowed with uncertainty. "I love this idea, but how can we ensure that everyone's needs are met? What if some voices get drowned out?" Emma felt her heart skip, the tension thickening the air. That was exactly what she feared. But as Marissa's words hung there, they sparked more hands to rise, each offering a perspective, mingling passion with doubt. Jake leaned toward Emma, a whisper escaping his lips. "This is good. It means they care. But do they care enough?" Emma's heart raced. Dissent was buzzing, and with every response the community's voice grew louder. Yet, the volume of their concerns rose too, and the doubts clamored around her, threatening to drown out her vision. A younger man, his hair tousled and wild, voiced the hesitation many felt. "What if the things we want clash? I want more open spaces, but I also see the need for development. How do we balance everything?" Jake stepped forward again, his face resolute. "This is exactly why we're here. To find common ground. To talk about these conflicts honestly." His words led to expressions of relief and agreement. But Emma felt unrest in the dynamics. Would they find harmony or just more division? The discussions buzzed with energy, each sharing their piece of the puzzle. But the pieces kept slipping apart. Mr. Thompson intervened, his presence commanding the energy of the room. "Tonight we're planting seeds of conversation. Not every seed will take root, but each grows from the soil of understanding." Emma could see the effect of his wisdom. She could feel the tension gradually release like air from a balloon. But what if that air was full of unsaid fears, waiting to explode? Hours passed as voices rose and fell like the gentle tide, weaving their diverse hopes into the fabric of their community. At that moment, Emma felt a glimmer of something she hadn't anticipated, a sense of belonging. But as the night wore on, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. What if? She thought, a new question unfurling in her mind. What if the truth they uncovered stripped away their illusions? What if unity came at a cost, one they weren't prepared to pay? With one last glance at the room, she took a deep breath and locked eyes with Jake. Their journey had just begun, but what awaited them around the corner could change everything. As the evening wore on, the passions in the room ebbed and flowed like a restless tide. Emma felt the weight of uncertainty linger, draping itself like an unwelcome blanket. The more they discussed, the clearer it became. This shared vision was fragile, teetering on the edge of something undefined. Jake remained upbeat, his fingers gesturing animatedly as he encouraged more participation. "Think of it this way," he urged, "if we can blend our ideas, we can create something even greater than our individual dreams." That sounded hopeful. But Emma's heart tightened. What if blending their ideas meant losing the essence of those individual dreams? The voices in the room were becoming a cacophony of desires and fears. A middle-aged man named Greg stood up, his brow creased and his voice low but certain. "We need to ask ourselves, what do we value most? Community, development, nature? If we can't agree on that, how will we move forward?" The room fell silent. Emma noticed the way his words hung in the air, heavy with truth. This was more than just planning, it was a reckoning. Jake nodded, absorbing the weight of Greg's question. "You're right. We need to prioritize." He turned toward the audience. "What's our highest value? Is it preserving green spaces? Creating jobs? Balancing both? The question ignited sparks of debate. Emma watched as people wrestled with the complexity of their desires, mothers wanting parks for their children, young professionals yearning for new opportunities, retired neighbors seeking tranquility. Maybe we need to form smaller groups, Marissa suggested, a hint of panic creeping into her voice. Discuss our values first, then come back together. A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Yet, Emma felt something deeper simmering beneath the surface, fear of being heard but not understood. Each passion had merit, but they weren't just trying to balance ideals. They were diving into deep-seated emotions tied to their identities. Tamar Thompson, sensing the shift, stepped up again. That's a solid approach. But remember, differing opinions don't mean we don't care. We all want what's best for our community, but getting there might be messy. Emma appreciated his honesty. She could see the face of every person present spelling a narrative of hope and frustration. But within that delicate balance lay the potential for real understanding. As they broke into smaller groups, a wave of nervous energy filled the air. Conversations erupted as people passionately defended their views. Emma joined a group led by Marissa, and they began to share their ideals. She could see the fire in Marissa's eyes. Her love for open spaces was palpable. Suddenly, a loud argument broke out from another group across the room, voices raised with passion. "I don't want to lose my business for a park," a woman shouted, her cheeks flushed with frustration. "But what about our kids?" someone shot back. Emma's heart sank. The tension was flaring. Would all their efforts spiral into chaos? Just then, Jake stumbled into their circle, breathless yet focused. "Hey," he said. "We need to take a step back. Can we combine our discussions or risk losing more than we gain?" Declaring sides wouldn't help. His words silenced their group, a fragile intimacy hanging in the air. Emma glanced at him, a rush of gratitude flooding her. He seemed to be the calm amid the storm, and she leaned into that pulse of hope. Maybe it wouldn't lead to destruction. But as she looked around the room, doubt flickered in her heart again. What if this community doesn't survive the truth that lurks beneath? She thought uneasily. As the discussions roared around her, the question loomed larger than ever. What costs were they willing to pay for unity? Emma sensed the storm brewing, and the thought left her breathless. Emma's mind raced as tension crackled in the air like heat lightning. Everywhere she turned, people were grappling with emotions that ran deeper than simple opinions. It felt like a rubber band stretched to its breaking point, ready to snap. "Why can't they see?" she whispered to Marissa, her voice barely cutting through the escalating friction. Marissa's expression was distant, her focus lost in the clamor of voices. Emma ran a hand through her hair, frustration boiling at the edges. "We need to remember why we came together," Marissa finally replied, a note of desperation threading through her words. "We're fighting for a place we love. We can't lose sight of that." Yet amidst all that passion and fervor, a nagging doubt settled in Emma's chest. How quickly could a shared love turn into a blame game? Across the room, Jake was pacing. His hands were gesturing wildly, trying to draw everyone back into focus. "Look," he said, raising his voice above the chaos. "This is not just about parks or businesses. It's about us, our community. We all want a place we can call home without putting others in jeopardy." His words paused the arguments for just a heartbeat. Eyes turned, searching for something solid, something that connected more than just differing desires. But just as the tension shifted, a new voice cut through, sharp and condescending. "Easy for you to say, Jake. You don't own a business affected by these decisions. What do you know about risking your livelihood?" It was the same woman, the one who had shouted earlier. Her eyes blazed, and Emma could feel the sharpness in her words echo across the room. "Now is not the time to lay blame," Jake replied, his tone steady, though he seemed to struggle to maintain his composure. "What about the kids in this community? They deserve a place to play too." Emma felt the weight of that statement. It pulled at her heartstrings, dragging her thoughts to the parks where kids played freely while parents relaxed under shaded trees. But at which cost? She felt the weight of the community's expectations pressing upon her. "Maybe we need a mediator," Greg suggested gently. "Someone who can balance both sides. A way to keep working together instead of tearing each other apart. Maybe a town hall meeting?" Someone else proposed, and murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. The idea felt both reassuring and terrifying. Emma nodded slowly, hoping it wasn't just a band-aid on a wound that was deepening. But suddenly, something almost palpable shifted in the air. As Emma scanned the room, she noticed a woman sitting quietly in a corner. Sarah had always been the more reserved one, a voice unheard in most discussions, but today something felt different. Emma approached her cautiously, her heart racing. "What do you think about this?" Sarah looked up, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I think we're trying to save something we don't even fully understand yet." Her voice was soft, but it held a weight that stopped Emma cold. "What if our fight for the community only leads to more division?" Those words unfurled in Emma's mind, resonating like a clarion bell. As people around them continued to argue and insist on their own perspectives, she recognized the power of Sarah's truth. What if they were all too focused on being right that they forgot to listen? Suddenly, the cacophony of voices shifted in Emma's mind, each punctuating her new revelation. She glanced between Sarah and the rest of the room, emotions spiraling into a perfect storm of realization and possibility. Just then, the group came back together, ready for Jake's next attempt at finding common ground. Emma stood at the edge, her chest tight. Would they listen? Would they consider a different approach? As Jake prepared to speak again, her pulse quickened. She had to try, but could she muster the courage to shift the tide? The air felt charged with anticipation, and Emma could almost taste the change in the atmosphere. The moment lingered, her heart poised at the edge of the unknown. What new path might they carve out if only they could come together? Emma's gaze fixed on Jake as he caught her eye, silently urging her forward. Could speaking out about unity be the spark they needed? Or would it just add fuel to the fire? The questions hung in the air, heavy and charged, waiting for an answer that may change everything. As the tension in the room swelled, Emma took a deep breath, her heart thumping in her chest. She pushed her way through the gathered crowd, the familiar faces of her friends, neighbors, and fellow townspeople staring back at her, each one a thread in the rich tapestry of the community. She silenced the chaotic thoughts swirling in her mind, focusing instead on the shared humanity surrounding her. "Everyone," she called out, her voice trembling but firm. "Can we just pause for a second?" Silence fell upon the room, a quiet dissension that contrasted sharply with the earlier brawls of emotion. Eyes turned toward her, a mix of curiosity and concern reflected within each gaze. "We're all here because we love this town, and that passion is what makes us a community. What if we take a moment to really listen to one another? To seek understanding rather than just making our points?" Jake's eyes widened at her boldness. The tension seemed to hang in the air, thick like syrup, as murmurs shifted to nods. Emma forged ahead. "We can fight for what we believe in without tearing each other apart. We shouldn't have to sacrifice our dreams or our relationships to build a better future." Marissa stepped forward, her voice warm yet filled with conviction. "Emma's right. We're not enemies here. We've all felt the pain of struggle, the ache of uncertainty. But let us remember the dreams that brought us together: a clean park for our children, vibrant businesses, spaces for art and growth. They can coexist." The energy in the room began to change, a wave curving toward the shores of collaboration. Emma saw eyes softened in response, and it emboldened her. What if we form a community council, a real conversation where everyone has a voice? Perhaps we can develop our ideas together, pick the things we can commit to doing as a united force. We must build a bridge instead of a wall. A man in the back, hesitant but hopeful, raised his hand. "What if we start small? Can we gather our ideas, prioritize, then take immediate steps, all while keeping the rest of the community in the loop? We can build together, keep everyone informed about our progress, and listen to their concerns." There it was, a flicker of light cutting through the shadows of contention. Ideas started bouncing from person to person like children playing a game of tag. Emma could see the hope building, the momentum rising. "We can do this. We need to ensure that every voice matters." Jake chimed in, his spirit ignited. "Let us come together to find our strengths, address our challenges, and set goals that represent us all." Hope shot through Emma as she watched the realization dawn on those around her. They were tired of the division, tired of fighting. The community wanted to be a part of something new, something bigger than individual struggles. Mr. Thompson spoke again, his voice resonating with wisdom. "It is time we remember the roots that brought us here. Every flower must mind its soil. If we nurture this together, we can grow, and rain may fall, but our roots will hold. The room buzzed with agreement, with the enthusiasm replacing the cacophony of discord. The individuals who had felt unseen now found their voices rising up, reverberating with that precious truth, a commitment to work as one, lifting hearts instead of tearing them down. As they neared the end of the meeting, Emma caught Jake's eye across the room, and they shared a wide smile, a quiet understanding passing between them. This was their moment of transformation. They weren't just mother and son anymore. They were partners in a vision, entwined in the hopes and dreams of their community. A new collective spirit emerged, and Emma felt lighter as voices mingled, ideas blossoming into plans. They rallied behind a shared purpose, each individual stepping forward to create a future fueled by collaboration, not contention. In the glow of that unity, a fire was ignited, fanned by the breath of hope and the essence of compassion. Emma felt the strength of their dreams coming alive, vibrant and free. That night, as Emma and Jake stepped out into the cool breeze, the sky above sparkled with stars, twinkling like the dreams they had woven together in that room. It was a new beginning, and as they walked side by side, Emma knew in her heart not just freedom, but true liberation lay in their journey, moving forward together, hand in hand, family and community united, shaping the future. This is the moment to embrace your dreams and make a difference. You need to subscribe now to the channel, so you don't miss exclusive stories like this one. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and spread this message far and wide. Comment below with your feelings and thoughts on this powerful ending. We want to hear from you. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Your support means everything.